Driver, start your engine! In the beginning, stock cars outran the police to deliver the hooch to our ancestors. So sweet. Are you ready for a trip down victory lane, where Richard Petty's winnings were insane and Dale Earnhardt put everyone to shame? Canadian Junior Handley is in the Hall of Fame. Live from Haldeman County, it's time for the Driver in Deep podcast. Are you ready?
Welcome to the Driver in Deep podcast, brought to you by wingnutsports.com. Well, Alex, I really need to say that I am so glad to be back from my business trip. It was quite eventful, to say the least. And, with the loss of my luggage, which didn't allow us to record the first week, I was away. And then, of course, we didn't record last week either. So I'm really excited to get back at it with today's guest.
Yeah, well, welcome back. I know we missed a couple of weeks there, but sometimes things get in the way, but we're through it. And by the time you got back and talking to you about your travel, it seems like it was more than just the luggage that was a hassle for you. It seems like this pandemic travel is still a real pain in the ass.
It sure was. It's just that every country has their own rules, and trying to keep on top of it, and everything's changing all the time, whether you need COVID tests or don't need COVID tests, and when you need them and which ones are acceptable. And then, of course, arriving at the border, it was a very long wait after a very long travel. I'd been up since 1 a.m, and then there was a 2.5-hour lineup at the Rainbow Bridge. So, that was a little tough too. But anyway, I'm back, and I'm pretty excited to get going here. Yeah,
good. And so am I. And I seen you on the weekend, actually, you and your wife, Joni. We went to a disc golf clinic, actually, with our wives at a local craft brewery. And we got, a good session in with a fellow named Zach from Kitchener. Mm-hmm. It was good. And like I told you on the weekend, while you were gone, I only had time to play one round of disc golf. So you'll still be on top of the heap as far as our group goes.
Well, it sounds like I'm safe, because you need way more than one round to catch up for sure. Yeah. And for sure, Jeff and his team at Concession Road Brewing Company hosted a clinic with an instructor who you already mentioned, Zach, who's from Kitchener, and he was great. I really think the wives got a lot out of it, and and I know he also sort of reaffirmed some of the things that we've been learning too. And boy, our wives are really throwing the disc well after that. And and also the beer's great. So if you're in the Jarvis area, I'd suggest you check out Concession Road Brewing Company.
Yeah, they got a lot of nice flavors for sure. And I agree. I think for Joni and Sandy, it was great because, as you know, they don't want instruction from you and me. So they finally got instruction from somebody who knows what they're talking about. And it was kind of funny because Zach told them the same things we do.
Yeah. When I specifically asked Joni, do you want me to give you some tips? And I got the hard no. And so I haven't tried since, but obviously Zach had a way with the girls that we don't. So anyway.
Yeah, it was a drizzly day for sure, Mark, but it was fun and informative for sure. And like I said, the beer was good at Jeff's Concession Road Brewery Company, so it was all good.
Yeah, and don't worry, Alex, you'll get there. You will. Just takes practice like anything else. And the most important thing is that we're both having a lot of fun. So anyway, why don't you go ahead and introduce our guest?
I'd be happy to. We have veteran racer from Barrie, Ontario, Mark Dilley. Mark started racing in 1983, I think it was, in the super stock division, and made his way up through the ranks and currently races in the NASCAR Pinty Series. Welcome to Driver in Deep, Mark.
Thank you. Thanks, Alex. Thanks, Mark. I appreciate it. Appreciate being on.
You're very welcome. Mark, it seems like anytime Alex and I talk about the CASCAR days, he always brings up your name. And I can't remember how many times he said you were lucky in 1994 when you won the CASCAR championships. Can you explain what he means and if he's telling the truth?
Well, I don't know. He's been telling me the same thing since 1994, but I don't remember exactly how it all unfolded, but I know I ended up with the hardware, so I don't know what I can't remember exactly. I know it was me and Alex, and I think Dan Shirtliff was up in the mix, and there was a few different guys up in the mix at the end, And I don't know if he broke at Delaware or got disqualified. He might have even got disqualified. He's no
Easy,
right? So
easy. No, so I mean, I was in, all kidding aside, I was in really good shape. I was leading the East, leading the national championship, leading the race at Delaware, and I think there was maybe 50 to go or something. And I broke one of those beautiful rocker arms we used to run.
Oh yeah, that's right. I remember that now. Yeah.
And then, listen, all kidding aside, we didn't get the job done. You did. And we always kid about it, but it was, it's like every season in CASCAR is a hell of a battle.
Yeah, it was a crazy. That year was a crazy year. I mean, we didn't win a race that year. I think I finished second like 7 times or something. I don't think I didn't win a race at all that year. I think I was second at Delaware that day when you broke too, and I can't remember who won. But yeah, kind of weird just the way it carried, played out, and that's a lot of times you hear that because it's who can last, right? It's the car. There's so many variables. I tell that to everybody. For years everybody would say, are you gonna win? And I'd always laugh and say, well, yeah, if it was that easy, I guess there'd be 1,000 race cars there. So there's so many variables that can go wrong during a race and over the course of time. It's just sometimes you get lucky and sometimes you don't.
Yeah, you started CASCAR before me and a little bit before me. Thinking back, I think you're the one who recommended those rocker arms to me because I didn't know really what shit to run.
Yeah, no, they were good. They were special ones. I probably gave you. They were my special ones. It was a crazy class back there. You used to drive around trying to find rocker arms off old buses and stuff. There was all kinds of theories. These ones are old, got 100,000 kilometers. They're heat treated better. Oh, it was just the stupidest rule ever. But we got through it and had some good racing at that.
Yeah, that's great. So backing up a little, Mark, you started racing in what is now the Super Stock division in 1983. Then you moved to the Super Late Models in 1987. Was Sunset where you started, or was it Barrie, or was it both?
No, Sunset. Mainly Sunset for the first, really up to about 87. I went to a couple different places with the Super Stock back then, but typically it was just mainly Sunset we ran. And then as I got into the Super Late Models, I started to run more at Peterborough. I ran some at Delaware, Sauble, but basically, and how that came about is the car I built was so illegal for Sunset that they finally threw me out. So I bought a car off Junior and had a pretty tricked up motor and stuff in it. They didn't seem to like that so much, so we ended up touring around a little more.
Yeah, thinking back about during that time, Mark, we raced against a lot of great drivers during that time, and I often think how strange it is. And I thought about this the other day when we were getting you on as a guest, is that even though we both started in the early 80s, we didn't race against each other until we both got to CASCAR.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. And it seemed that, as it went along, I mean, I remember when I made the jump because they'd gone to the Toronto, they were going to start racing at the Toronto Grandstand. And I thought, well, what a better way to try and race sponsorship than in the heart of Toronto. And that was kind of how that ball got rolling over there. But then, excuse me, as we went along, more guys, yourself, I think you came in what,
93,
right? And I think Donnie came somewhere around there, and Gibbons come.
Yep.
He was in there. He was around somewhere in there, and you had Kerry, and it was just a whole bunch of guys that had won a whole bunch of races at different racetracks. That were the new guys, and the old guys. You had Don Malott, you had Jack Monahan, you had John Dupy. Like you had a lot of Dave Whitlocks. I mean, you had a lot of good.
Robley.
Robley, yeah. I mean, it just goes on and on. There was a lot of really good racers. I mean, what I said, when you won one of those races, you'd worked at it because they handled like a loaf of bread, but you had to give her for 300 laps. It was pretty crazy.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. So you went to CASCAR racing in 1990, and while I was doing a little bit of research on your career, it looks to me that you had a lot of different corporate partners throughout your career. And for being a marketing guy myself, I'm always interested in hearing about these deals. Is there any that you can share with us?
Yeah, really. I mean, the one I've been with the longest is NTN Bearings. I've been with NTN Bearings since 1989. There was a gentleman there that said, "Hey, let's give it a try." I was actually the first race car that NTN ever sponsored back in '89, and then we carried on with them up into the '90s. I still had the deal. Kerry drove an NTN car, which was my sponsorship through NTN, and that's when I got the Sega deal. The Sega deal was too good of a deal to try and pass up. It was just, Sega was a real powerhouse then, and had a real good marketing strategy and wanted to be involved, and they made an offer. And it was a good thing. So we ended up with that. Then Peter ran the NTN car for a while. And then, NTN will be on my car at the first race of the year and the last race of the year this year. So I've been with them for, I think, 35 years on and off, but they've been very good supporters. Leland is another one. Byron went on the car in 2000. And he's been on there for 21 years.
Dodge for a while.
Dodge. I've had Dodge race with Dodge for 6 years. It's been good. I mean, I always said, everyone says, "Oh, Dilley's lucky," whatever. We just kind of give back, and that was the biggest thing, and be involved. And pretty well every sponsorship we've had, we've made it very at the racetrack driven with corporate partners, and whether it's their customers, their employees, whatever it is, we try and do as much. I can just tell you right now, I just bought 75 hospitality tickets for the Sunset race, and out of the 75 hospitality tickets, there are probably, I don't even know, maybe 10 that are family members and everybody else's sponsors that we have on the teams this year. So I think that's a lot to do with it. If you can get them interacting and the business to business that can be done with nothing to do with racing, it's just two different people from two different sides of the business world, and they have a connection and really, I need to get to that, give me a car here, whatever it is, you know what I mean, exchange. And it's worked very well over the years.
Yeah, we had Tag on a little while ago, and as you know, he's a master at the sponsorship game as well. And he said that exact same thing. It's not about the racing per se. No. It's about making the customer happy. Anyways, I mean, that's that could be multiple episodes, but Mark's right, man. You always had good success, and it doesn't come easy to have corporate partners for sure. We mentioned earlier about the 94 championship. We joked about it, and I'm sure that's something that will always be, you look back on, be real proud of it for sure. Every time that we get somebody like yourself on from the CASCAR series that's been involved with it in some fashion, we get talking about the competitiveness. And I think you touched on it a little bit earlier, but do you ever just sit back sometimes and think about what we had during those days? And you mentioned some of the drivers, but that was just like it was
insane. Like, it really was. You'd go to the racetrack, and you go to Delaware, there'd be 50 cars.
Yeah.
Like every time you went, there'd be I can remember what did they run? It was like a format they'd run at Barrie. It was like
Twin 100 qualifier or something.
Yeah. And there'd be 26 cars in each qualifying thing. And it's like, are you kidding me? You go to the back, and it's like, you can't even see the front of the line. You're just wheeling the thing. And so, you never stopped driving the thing. You just kept driving as hard as you could drive, and until basically it either broke or the race was over.
Yeah, for sure.
It was tough racing. I mean, I remember people who say 2-barrel car or this. I don't care. Get in there when you're racing and see everybody's playing. They did a good job with the rules, and they did a good job with everything. And as far as, keeping them as close as they could, and it was really good racing. It really was. And it was tough all the way through, right up through and into the 2000s. It was tough racing. And I like everything in racing. It's still tough today. There's no doubt about that, especially the road courses.
For you.
Yeah. Oh, well, they're so good. I mean, people don't realize how good they are. Ranger and Tag and Kevin Lacroix and Clute, and just and they're going on. And there's another new one. I forget what his name is. He's a local kid who lives around me here, Marcelli or Kyle Marcelli or
Carl. But he'll be on. He'll be there this year. So
he's unbelievable.
Marcelli.
Marcelli. Yeah, I mean, it's it's tough. I find that more like golf. You're just playing against you. I'm racing against myself out there. I'm trying to keep the wheels on and keep the thing on the asphalt. No, you're wrong. You're wrong, because you find
I find that like playing golf, where I suck and you smoke the ball. So it's like when I'm playing golf against you or with you, it's like you play racing against one of those key road racers.
It's golf. You gotta have patience for golf, Alex. You're too hyper.
Oh yeah, whatever.
Yeah, I think he knows you well. Mark, every time we have somebody on with a CASCAR connection, it seems that Calgary always comes up in the conversation. And when Alex
Hang on a sec, is this parental guidance or what?
Well, I'm hoping to get the scoop here. So when Alex and I were talking about having you on, Driver and Deep, he told me about a time when you guys had a pit stop competition in downtown Calgary, and you had someone haul your car down there for you, but when it was time to head back to the hotel where you were all staying, the person that hauled you there took off. Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah. I remember it well. So that was actually Peter Gibbons was my teammate, and he came, and the problem was I had scheduled a show with NTN. So he was in the...
For him.
I said, so he took the hauler. He said, well, so we were sitting, we were at a hotel called the Carriage House, and we were sitting there, and I said, I'm going to drive it. I'm going to drive right downtown. I said, I don't care. So I phoned Sega, and they thought that was the greatest thing ever. He said, I'll pay all fines. He didn't care. So I fired her up, and I drove her right down McLeod Trail. It was a long haul. So we did the pit stop contest. We did win it, which was fantastic, and we're there. Everybody's in. I believe Larry Flint was the guy from GM that had a thing afterwards, and it was just good time.
Yeah,
a lot of sponsors.
Yeah. Larry Fink, and he told me, right? Hey, so Fink told me, because he sponsored me, that let somebody else win the pit stop competition. Don't want to make it an all GM day, and there you go. Yeah.
We figured we'd already stole all the thunder by driving it there, so might as well steal the trophy too. But well, then we came out afterwards, and the car was sitting there, and everybody had gone. And it's like, oh, okay, well, I guess I got to drive it back. So and I remember I was at the stoplight. It was McLeod Trail in one road, and I was sitting in the left lane going straight, like that, not the turning lane. And the cop was sitting across coming the other way. And he's looking at me, and I'm looking at him. And he just went by with his hands over his eyes, and I kept right on rolling. I ran out of gas. And coasted into the thing. And then they made it from that part on. They made it part of the pit stop tour. They had
we paraded down there.
It wasn't one Yahoo out there swinging around and bouncing off curbs. It was organized. So, but that's a true story. A lot of firsts there. First mechanical bowl. First a lot of things right there.
So when you're coming back, I was sitting at one of those stoplights, and I heard this car coming up behind, this loud noise, and I look in the mirror, and there's Dilley heading back to the hotel. I was laughing my ass off, and I was going to ask you about that, because I remember you saying that you seen the cop at the intersection. But oh man, and listen, by the time we headed back, I don't think you wanted to blow a breathalyzer either. Like, we had a little bit of a reception.
Celebrational drinks. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, we were there for a while. No wonder Gibbons had to leave.
Yeah, typically I'm not the one to miss out on any drink. So.
Yeah, I've noticed that once in a while. Yeah.
Oh boy, that's good. So nothing really to throw you under the bus there, Alex. But
no, I told you before, I behaved in Calgary after my brother's episode. I had to behave, and he was he covered for me.
Yeah.
I can remember people riding on roofs of vans to try and go through the A&W. That was my dad, actually.
They across
the bar across the street. We're trying to get some food. The only thing that was open was a drive-through, but they wouldn't serve you unless you were in a vehicle. So they hired some guy that came in, paid him $50, and they rode on the roof of the van through the drive-through. I think another guy let all the birds out in the lobby of the hotel. Whatever they are, the ones that talk parrots and
they had parrots and all that in the lobby. Parrots. Yeah, I think that they were the peanut bar.
Oh yeah, we're going forgot about that. Yeah, 4 inches of peanuts on the floor, and it was like, it was a dive. But everybody went there, and it was but for me to call it a dive, it's a dive. But at that time, anyways, it was. Oh yeah, the peanuts. You get in there. Remember they had the steak wasn't like $6.95 steak dinner.
Yeah,
And
that's
the steak was unbelievable.
Wasn't it steak on a bun or something?
They put it on a piece of garlic toast and give you those steak
Oh, yeah.
fries with it. Yeah,
That's
it was like $6.95, and it was Alberta. It was amazing.
Yeah, we couldn't get enough. They had slot machines in the bar there too. And,
oh yeah.
Yeah, I think that they couldn't wait for us to get there every year to get our money, but I'm sure they're glad we left.
Oh, they were glad to see them roll out of town. There was a lot of action that happened.
Yeah, I'm sure. Well, changing gears here a little bit, Mark, much like Alex, you not only raced, but you also got into being a track operator at Barrie, Sunset, and Sauble Speedways. Maybe you could touch on those experiences for us. And from what I understand, and also what I've seen firsthand, operating a racetrack really isn't for the faint of heart.
Where would you hear that?
Yeah.
I saw it.
It definitely has days. But hey, I got into that, and when I was moving to Barrie from Unionville, I worked for Brad, Moran, and JoJo. I'm a film stripper by trade, so they were all in the graphic arts. I worked in Markham for Brad and Joe, and then when I was moving up here to Barrie, because I thought we couldn't afford a house down there, and then I was up here and I got talking with surprisingly enough Gord Coates and a guy named Nigel Squirrel who just had bought Barrie Speedway, and they said, "Well, we want you to be the promoter." That's okay. So we were hashed out a deal and got that done. And so that went on for, I think 99, 2000, maybe 2001. I can't remember if it was 2 years or 3 years I did that. And then kind of had enough. It was kind of affecting my own racing. It was getting bigger again because I could kind of, in the late 90s, I was living down south racing supers. And I was kind of not doing as much as far as up here and that. So anyways, the ball started rolling again with that. So I was like, I want to go back and I want to just try and go back at the racing and get more sponsors I could get to probably make up for the wage I was making. And the only way to get them was to keep working on it. So that's kind of how that went down. But then Brad Moran got involved in the Speedway, and me and him were partners in 2004. I think somehow I come back, or he was working on, and he needed some help. I went up one day, and as soon as I did that, I was hooked again, and got back into that for a couple of years. But then once I got the Dodge, once Dodge sponsored me, there was a lot of time, a lot of shows, it just didn't fit. So got out of it. And then in 2009, this guy calls me and said, Hey, Mark, my name's Ernie. I just bought a racetrack. Oh yeah. Sorry about your luck kind of thing, right? No, I want to redo it. I want you to run it. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't think so. So I had a meeting. There were 7 partners in it at that time. And I don't know. I didn't want to do it at all. I told them no. I said, no, I'm not interested, really. I said, everything's going good. And then I was driving home from the city up to 400, and I got thinking, and I'm like, I started at Sunset. Racing's been good to me. You know what I mean? I'm not I'm a gazillionaire, a millionaire, but I made a living at it. And I just thought, you know what, I owe something back. And some reason the Sunset thing, and I phoned them and I said, you know what, I'm thinking about it. And then that turned into the next day they threw me the keys, and then that group, the owners group there, which is TJ, a teammate, there's one of them, and his brother and his sister and cousin, and Brian that's there. He's a part owner in it too. There's still I don't know, I think 5 of them that are still involved, but anyways. I said the track's a dump. It's bad. It's really bad. It needs to be fixed up. It needs some, anything. And the track itself, everything. And they said, well, we're going to do it. And that's what happened. So in 2010, at the end of the 2009 season, I just tore it all up and we went hard through there. We were lucky. We did get a good winter that year, and we were able to open on time with kind of new everything. I mean, it was a big. It was a big undertaking, but it worked out good, and then we continued on from there, and built it up to it was pretty powerful. In 2016, 15, 16, when we ended up when Barrie closed and we ended up doing the NASCAR thing, it was, I think in memberships we were 3rd in North America.
Yeah.
Out with the NASCAR behind Bowman Gray and the dirt track that's hooked up to the university there. Lively or something, or Lively.
Lima, yeah, in Ohio, yeah.
Yeah, which, I mean, nobody's going to pass those. Those are two tracks that are tough to pass, but it was pretty good. We got it rolling good, and then it was, I wanted to change again kind of thing. And I've done it, I guess, there for 7 years, 8 years. It was getting tiring. I was tired, it's a pretty, not saying anything bad about anybody and anything, but it's a pretty thankless job. And I don't think anybody who's ever run a racetrack could disagree with me more. And if people don't mean to be like that, they just don't understand how much stuff goes time and just everything goes into it. It's crazy. I know, Alex, obviously you understand, and I'm not sure, Mark.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's a lot like having a race team, Mark. It's a lot of work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is, and that's the thing. It's like, and I'm obviously not getting any younger, thing. So and I went up and dabbled with Saul a little bit, tried to help. Paul's a great guy, so we were doing that, and I helped him out for a couple of years. There was just the thing; it's just too far from my house, And it was great. Paul would give me a place at the trailer park, but I'd either race on a weekend or I'd be leaving here on Thursday and still working at the job with TJ and Ernie and that, and working on things there, working on trying to keep the race team going and driving up there, and it basically burned me out pretty quick. That's pretty well the history of the racetracks. I love it. I love the fans. I love the racers, and I love doing it, but it is hard. People say, "Oh, it's only 1 day a week." Yeah, okay, sure. Yeah, 362, and that's because your phone went dead for 3 days somewhere along the
way. And probably like Alex, you have to wear every hat there is when you're working as an operator there. I mean, I saw it with Alex, so I know that it doesn't matter what the job is, you have to do it at some point in time.
You're everything. You're a shrink. You're a bouncer. You're everything. Promoter. You're the grass cutter. You're the beer loader. You're the pop pourer. You're everything you can imagine. I mean, you just have to do whatever you have to do, because it's one of the toughest things about doing it is a lot of times you're dealing with people, younger kids it's a 1 day a week job for them, and they don't. It's different if they were working at it 5 days a week, but it's 1 day a week. It's a lot of first time jobs. It's so you're trying to teach them so they don't hurt themselves. Especially the French fry stuff drives me insane. Texting and grease is flying, and I'm going, just call 911 right now, but that's the thing that. It's a lot. It burns you out really fast. The phone will never stop. I always like the one guy called me on Christmas time, and I won't say any names. He called me and said, "Oh, hey," he said, and me answered it. "Hey, I'm calling you. Merry Christmas." I said, "Oh, yeah, Merry Christmas to you and the family and everybody. Thank you." And he said, "Have you put any thought into the schedule for next year?" And I just thought, what? I thought, this guy's out of his mind. So, that's just one of many I could tell you of things that have gone on and happened all the time with it.
Yeah, and when we make ourselves available all the time, people just expect it, and so it's partially our fault. But you couldn't run it any other way, and I know you wouldn't have changed. I won't change either. So for sure, I got something else I wanted to touch on, but you said about racing super late models in Florida, and I wanted to ask you about this. I remember back then when you come back or something, we were racing somewhere and we were shooting this shit about this, and you were doing some golf stuff down there, racing cars. And you told me one time about a guy you golfed with a few times who was a hero of mine, drove a motorcycle. Yeah. Tell us about Evel.
So the first time I met him, there's Evel Knievel. So the first time I went to a golf course, it was called East Bay. And I was looking for a golf game. So this guy that I played there a couple times before, and this guy that was the starter guy, he was a guy from Boston, and he loved the race cars, and we talked, and I think I had a truck all lettered up at one point there. And so I had the truck that I won in '94. That's how he knew. So anyways, back. So anyways,
that truck, my truck.
Right, yeah, your truck ran great too. Heavy on gasoline, but anyway, yeah. So he set me up with these two guys, and it was Evel Knievel and Rodney Dangerfield.
Wow.
So
what a pair! What a pair!
Yeah, it was. So anyways, Evel and I got talking, and we ended up playing. We'd play 2 to 3 times a week together in different leagues and that.
Evel never drank, did he?
He did. obviously, but he would drink 1 beer and 1 O'Doul. 1 beer and 1 O'Doul. That was his.
Oh, really?
Right? So, but he was something. I mean, he was unbelievable. Like when you played with him, he was a lot of fun. Guns everywhere. Always had guns. I was worried someone was going to steal them. But I was at one golf course, the Eagles, outside of Tampa there, with him, and all of a sudden the guy comes and Evel, the IRS is here. Oh, here, huh? So he gets him a car. Take me to the. So he goes to the maintenance shed, takes one of the pickup trucks from there, and goes out the back gate. Meanwhile, Aston Martin's out front. Everything's out front. I'm riding with him in the thing. So now they're asking me, well, where is he? So he had to leave. Someone had something on in the hospital. I got to take his car home for him. I get in the thing. There's guns everywhere, and I'm like, this is insanity. Yeah, but I will tell you one thing. He would hear that somebody wanted his autograph. We'd be on the second fairway, and the kid or whoever would be on the 18th, and he'd just drive right over there. He always had his cards with him, sign his stuff, happy landings, Evel Knievel, and come back and continue golfing. Always had time for everybody, and that was one thing I really, really respected about him.
Yeah, I like that guy. He's cool for sure.
I was playing golf with him when he met his wife, Crystal. We were at the Chichi Rodriguez Azinger tournament, and she worked at a bar down there, similar to a Hooters style bar, and they were there doing a promo, and that's when he met Crystal. So
cool.
Yeah.
And what I wanted to touch on, and I don't want to. We could talk about it forever, but just quickly, I mean, you were one of the first guys around here, and it's commonplace now, not only just here, but especially in the U.S. But you're one of the first guys or teams or drivers, I guess, around here that went and sold yourself, put a deal together for X number of dollars, and went and sold it to a team that was going to give you great stuff. And you'd show up and drive it. You sold it, you marketed it, you did all the appearances, and you had enough left over to make a living afterwards.
Yeah, no, it was a move because we owned our own stuff for the longest time, and you're working in the shop, and I'm not real good on working on cars. I mean, I could get around the thing to get do whatever, but I never had the confidence. I always drove me nuts. Did I tighten that? Did I tighten this? Did I tighten? I'm out there trying to race. So I was thinking, then I'm thinking, okay, how can you make enough money to do this if you're in the shop all the time? How do you sell? How do you go meet people? If they want you to do a show, you're either in the shop or at work or whatever. Like, how do you? So I thought, well, I'm going to try this. And that's when I got geared up with first in 1990 with Peter Shatanis. That's really where it got cool because I was starting to do a lot of shows with Sega. I was up to 200 shows a year at one year, which was a ton. That was more than but the money was good to do the shows. And, so we'd just come in race and I'd be off doing shows all over Canada. We toured with the NBA Jam. That's when the Raptors and, the Vancouver Grizzlies were getting released through Sears. Sears did a huge tour across the country, and it was called the NBA Jam. They set up in all the malls across from Vancouver to wherever it was. I think the East. I don't know if we went to the East Coast. I think we went into Quebec. Anyway.
Yeah, and for the people that don't know Mark, and I know my partner Mark doesn't know, but probably overlooking one of the most important pieces there was Sega had that trailer with games set up in it. And it was, it was a big deal.
Yeah,
it was one of the.
We'd take the race car. It had the game, the console. So I think the first one had 14 or 16 consoles inside with TVs and the stereo. You'd go in, you'd think you were in a nightclub. It was like cutting edge, and we toured that around. And then they stole that almost stole my dad with it. That's a beauty story. We were in Boucherville, I think it was, Quebec, and. Crazy story. So we got up. My dad went to put the luggage in the trailer. I went to get a table for breakfast, and we came in after breakfast. It was like 9 a.m, and the trailer were gone. So we go back in. We watched the video. My dad was actually inside the trailer. It was a big trailer. It was 48 car. He was inside the trailer, and they were breaking into the truck on the other side. So he was within about 2 minutes of heading down the highway inside the trailer as they were stealing it. And it was pretty amazing. Nobody's seen anything. Broad daylight.
Oh, yeah.
This was a big black thing with players, like all neon players. Like it wasn't hard to miss. Nobody's seen nothing. So.
Yeah, nobody's seen a lot of trailers that went missing in Quebec for sure.
Yeah, no, Sega loved it because it was on the radio all over the place. He says, Dilley, you're the only guy I can spend. I forget how much it was. It was probably a couple $100,000 for that thing. Spend a couple $100,000. And it was one of the last shows of the year. Market the whole year out of it, and then get full days TV, radio coverage, and get my money back. This is great. So, it was a lot of fun. But yeah, it was a crazy it was crazy time. But yeah, like, we did that, just toured. Just I always say everybody, that you have to think outside the box to hey, you can't pass ball one. So get in the lane and get going, and just think outside the box. And I think the biggest thing, if people are listening, and that is, if somebody gives you $10,000, the reality is that $10,000 at best you got $7,000 for the race car, because the other $3,000 to probably a 35%. You better plan on putting back in on clothing, hats, ticketing, whether it's going to a barbecue, whether it's going to a kid's baseball, whatever it is. It is what it is, and that's the biggest thing. So. Where it says, I want to get $100,000. Well, if you want to have $100,000 to race, you really need about $135,000, because you better be putting some back in to support and give it some activation at whatever. And that doesn't just start at the high end. Your activation starts. Anybody gives you $1,000 more, that's your activation. Your activation starts then, and that's the biggest thing that we're trying to do.
Well, clearly you were a pioneer in this field, and nowadays it seems like more and more teams are sort of going after that same, marketing model and, basically a turnkey approach. Do you think that this is the way that many people can only go racing now?
I don't think you can afford to go. I don't think, like if you think a lot of these guys have collected a lot of stuff, whether it's trailers and cars and parts and whatever. I just really think that it is a good separation to have, I think that they have to know about race cars, like the younger kids do that, but they got to realize their time's not going to be in the shop. If you're trying to get sponsorship, and I believe that's the way they should go, so they can market themselves to continue further and have somebody that knows what's going on in the shop, can organize it. You save money, because instead of making mistakes like I do in the shop and buying the wrong stuff and doing this and doing that, and the umpteen things that happen, you have somebody that's doing it. You're on a set budget. You know what you're, to a certain degree, with crashes, but you're on a pretty set budget. You've made a good deal with a good team owner. You know what your dollar is you need to get. And now you don't end up with any assets at the end, but I've had a lot of race assets, and they ain't that much of an asset. So, that's one thing. I'd rather take my money up front and do it that way than sit on my assets for 10 years and basically get to whatever, 1,000 on 10 or whatever it is, or 10 cents on the dollar. So, but I think for our kids to stay focused on what they're doing, I believe that it's the strongest way right now. I just think it's too hard for them. The kids got a lot of pressure right now. You're talking to kids coming through school and whatever. He's got all kinds of different pressure at schools and this and that and everything else. Try and keep them focused on selling themselves and that, and having somebody that really knows how to get the cars to the racetrack in a good thing. And I can almost tell you'll save money. You really do.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, listen, it's like so many other businesses, Mark, the mom and pop, if you want to call what we did mom and pop stuff,
sure.
I'm not saying it's great, but it's the way it is. So jump on board and get rocking.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, it's just so hard, Alex. Everything's bulk buying now. So if a guy's got a team, if he's got a team with a 3-car team, he's buying. He's actually got some buying power through Motor States, whoever it is. Where me as the same guy, I ain't got no buying power. I'm buying so little amount of stuff, right? And it fits with everything. And it's just, I just think it's, whether we, like you said, I like the mom and pop stuff. I still like the open trailers, but unfortunately, I used to be able to run the 50-yard dash in 6 and something seconds, but can't see that happening now either. So
you could run the 50-yard dash ever?
Yeah, I'm going back to grade 5 and 6 here.
Before I knew you. Gotcha. All right.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, a couple Fridays ago, I saw you at Delaware Speedway, and it just made me think how I think finally we can all see a bit of light at the end of the tunnel. And it was good to see you and Roxanne there. We were at Delaware, like I said, for the APC late model opener and the Quick Super Stock series. And I think the racing was great. I think I saw you after the race, and we were talking about the show quickly before we had to go our separate ways, but great seeing fans there again, enjoying themselves. It was so much like old times. It was great to see, and it was great to see a bunch of people like yourself, and it was great to see some great racing, good fields.
Yeah, no, I was. I laughed. I said that I'm not going to go to many racetracks this year, and that's so. I don't know when they open, but I've been at one every weekend. So I was at Sunset again this weekend. Last weekend, at the Sunset the opener, Delaware there, and the racing's been fantastic everywhere I've been, and it's great. People and the fans are excited. They're, and I mean it's because we obviously locked down, but they're excited to get going again. And that's a big step in the and us restarting and everything we need to do.
Yeah, and like you, I went to Peterborough Saturday with my nephew Hudson. He was making his second start in a legend car, and he asked me to come and help him. He said that he heard that I'd raced a few legend cars before, so I helped him. And JP had a great crowd. Racing was good. The cars looked good. And I've talked to a bunch of different track operators, of course, over the past 7 days or so. And I talked to somebody again today, and like I told him, we're not racing this year. Of course, we've canceled our season, but man, we got fans coming out, and we have to make sure it's another opportunity to. It seems like there's that pent up demand. We have to make sure that fans enjoy themselves, races enjoy themselves. We put on good shows because we have an opportunity right now to recapture some fans, in my opinion.
100%, I agree with 100%. It's probably one of the biggest years as far as I'm going to call it on a stock car racing base, because I think you're right. People that went and did things years and years and years ago that haven't done them in that amount of time are looking for things to do. You will bring some of them back, which brings their kids, which brings their grandkids, which brings everybody, and starts a whole new thing. And I think that I couldn't agree with you more. I think it's a perfect opportunity for the racetracks to really have their stuff together, put on a good show. Don't drag it out. That's the biggest, problem I always have is, that thing needs to work in a 3 and 4 hour window. Washrooms are clean. Food's good. Everyone has a great time. They'll be back next week. And I agree. You have a good opportunity to recap. Sure.
Hey, listen, the quick show thing is so important. It's been important for several years now, but I think it's our opportunity to change up practice habits and everything else right now. Well, it's going to be somewhat fresh, even in the team's minds for sure. And, it's no different now, Mark. It's important to have short days for fans, but I'll tell you, it's important to have short days for competitors too.
100%.
More so now, 5 years ago, it was whatever. We accepted it, but we all just need to shorten the days up the best we can and sacrifice practice time and all that stuff, because you know what? NASCAR's proved that it's overrated. And, hey, one thing about it, if none of us practice, none of us practice. I'm not saying you don't have practice, but whether you have 10 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever.
I agree 100% on the competitor side, Alex, is because a lot of times you have, the husband's the racer, but the wife's with him and the 2 kids are with him. And when you have to get there at 10 in the morning and you don't leave there till 11 or 12 at night, that doesn't make for good family life. And something's going to give.
Yeah, I agree. Hey, before I know we're winding up here, and we talked about legend cars real briefly. And did you race one? Did we race against each other with a legend car?
A couple of times we did. I think Barry won that. What was it? I can't remember. I raced a few of them, but those things are so violent on my back. I think this is on my back problem. Those things are violent. They're violent. They really are. They're just so hard on your body. There's nothing but your ass on the racetrack. That's pretty well about it. And they're just
I love it.
I know you were fantastic in them. I mean, in Florida, I remember being at Sunshine Speedway there watching, and all across. I mean, there's no doubt. But yeah, I crashed at Flamborough on one, and that pretty well. I had enough of that thing. It was like falling out of the car drunk.
Probably don't feel that as much. Listen, before we get you out of here, Mark, we need to let everyone know what you have cooking for the rest of the 2021 season. And I see that you're teamed up with TJ Romanoto and RGC Sports with some new cars and team members. What can you tell us about the season?
So basically what we did is we have, we sponsored through RGC Sports, which is TJ, obviously. We sponsored some, we have Trayton that's going to run out of the Steckley camp, and an RGC Sports Quick car. then myself and TJ are going to run at a David White shop, White Motorsports. And TJ's kind of, he's got a bunch of different names on there of different companies we've come up with. Mine's typically major sponsorship at Leland. NTN will be on a couple races on the quarter panel. I got some other companies I'm just finishing up some stuff with, but we've put a good partnership of sponsors together, and kind of spread it over all the teams there. We have about 5 other teams, late model teams and junior late model teams that we've bought fire suits for some of the kids and try and help them out with some tires and just kind of do our part the best we can. It's not the best year to be doing that, but it was, we tried to help out some of the different kids so far. So.
Yeah, I look forward. I haven't seen TJ for a bit, but I look forward to catching up to him. He's a goer, man. And I wanted to give him a call and remind him that he's not a rookie no more. So he's got to get over the no more excuses, man. It's time to get with it. Yeah,
well, he's been practicing a bit, so we're going to test him a bit more and get him going. So hopefully we can get. He loves it, though. It's a great time, and that's it's a lot of fun for him. And that's good. But I think our big focus right now is trying to get Trayton and push him as far along the rail line as we can and see where we can get him to go to. He speaks well, drives well, and he's good. And obviously I don't have to tell anyone about that family for talent. They've come from every kind of racing there is. So
absolutely. Yeah. We're so lucky, right? I mean, there's so many great, talented, young men and women right now in our area that, it'd be cool if we could get them all the right opportunities, but it's just so hard. Hey, as everybody does a little bit, it'll all work out. And what about you, man? I know me and you talk all the time, and at some point you're going to hang it up. And hey, wins are tough to come by, aren't they? I mean, I just said about this talent that's around. I don't care what you race, bone stocks, mini stocks. It don't matter, man. Wins are tough. What do you want to do to finish up?
I don't know. I mean, I really don't know. I keep thinking about it, and then I get sidetracked, and I'm on another project and that. And I'll probably get my head around it here in the next bit. Brandon's going to run, Watson's going to run that Flamborough for me this year. And we'll start to move somewhere, but it's like anything, right? The sponsors have been with me so long. You got to kind of, make an introduction, and it's almost like, it's like you're introducing someone new, but they want to have a relationship. You know what I mean? My sponsor. So that's kind of the process we're in now. Just trying to do some introductions and, see what we can do, snag a couple wins. Tried to put all the names that are on all the cars kind of thing. So the sponsor has a connection with everybody that's there. You know what I mean? So that's kind of our plan of attack there. It's not just all Mark Dilley or all TJ Romanoto or all Trayton. Everyone's kind of on every car. So you got the old veteran, the old rookie, and then the young kid, right? So it's kind of a mix there, and some other young kids that will pop in and out.
I understand. No, it's a great approach. I wish you guys luck this year. Really appreciate you coming on, buddy. It's great to catch up.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was great to meet you, and best of luck for the 2021 season.
Yeah, and listen, man, wins. I said wins are hard to come by. You haven't had one for a little bit here, but I think you're going to get one for sure this year, at least one. You definitely are a wheelman still, and looking forward to seeing it happen.
I appreciate it very much. Thank you.
All right, buddy. Thanks again.
All right. Take care.
All right.
Bye, Mark.
Well, there you have it. I'll tell you, Dilley's a classic for sure. He's a lot of fun to be around, and he's a hell of a competitor.
Yeah, he sure sounds like it. And you know what? I really thought I was going to get some dirt on you about Calgary, but I'm sure that you must be paying these guys before our interview.
Yeah, I think that's the last guy we're going to have on from CASCAR or Flamborough days because I'm running out of dough.
Yeah, I think so. But anyway, as always, folks, please visit Facebook and search for Wingnut Sports and join our page if you haven't already. And also, we're at Wingnut Sports on both Instagram and Twitter. And don't forget to visit our website at wingnutsports.com and be sure to check out our show notes for more information. Oh, and don't forget to like and follow us, too.
Absolutely. And if you like what you hear, please share it with your friends. Hopefully they'll like it. And we'll get this thing hopping. We look forward to getting over these last 2 weeks that we've had to pause, and we'll have some good guests for everybody coming up. And this has been the Driver in Deep podcast with your hosts, Mark and Alex. Thanks for listening.
Well, we're wide open sideways.
Alright, you're clear.
Talk is cheap.
You're clear on this.
We got the foot to the floor. We're gonna drive her in deep.
Gonna be on the inside of you. Alright, you're clear. Got a slow boat coming up on your inside. Alright, you're clear. You're clear on this. Gonna be on the inside of you. Alright, you're clear.